What's up, garden nerds? Today we are going to plant a Medjool date palm tree. It's awesome. I'm excited. It's my first date palm tree. It's extremely hot, but I'm still extremely excited to plant the tree. Come on, let's go. Alright guys, so here I am next to my Medjool Date Tree. I bought it about a week ago. It's been sitting here in this spot, kind of getting accustomed and acclimated to the area it's gonna go. So I'm gonna walk you through step by step on how I am going to plant this. Let's start with a few of the basics. The first thing is you need to really look at where you're gonna plant it. The sun exposure it gets, not just right now in the middle of the summer, but the sun exposure that it's gonna get in the middle of the winter. You gotta think about those things. Also, you gotta think about how big the tree is gonna get. I'm putting it here, giving it some space because these things can kind of spread out. So I don't wanna plant it right next to here or right next to this tree or right next over here. You have to think about the mature size of the tree when planting it. How's it gonna look 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then place it accordingly. And then the last thing, now there's a bunch of ants here. The last thing that you want to think about, and one of the most important things, is the drainage. So if you see here, I have dug this hole. It's about 3 feet in diameter, 3 feet deep, and I have filled it up with water, not just once, but twice. I dug the hole, filled it up with water, let it drain, and then I filled it up with water again, and I watched it drain. If it doesn't drain within 24 hours, you have issues. That means the drainage is not good enough. The tree is not gonna be happy. It's not gonna grow well. It's not gonna be good if you're not getting that good drainage within 24 hours. So what can you do if you're not getting that good drainage? 2 things. First thing is you can dig deeper. We have clay, we also have caliche, which is like a really hard substance that water and other things cannot penetrate. So you have to keep going, you have to get through that layer of caliche. You can also add gypsum, which will help soften and allow the soil to take up water. So our clay is like, there's actually good nutrients in our clay, but it's extremely compounded. It's chemically, it's bound together really tightly. What gypsum will do is it will chemically react with the clay and it will loosen it up a bit so that it can absorb water better. So those are the 2 things. If you're not getting good drainage, dig deeper. If you're not getting good drainage, use some gypsum. But do not plant your tree until you're seeing that good drainage. Okay, so as I said, I've dug my hole. You always want to dig the hole bigger than what the actual plant pot is because you want to give it good space, okay? And then I threw some dirt over here, but I also threw some dirt back behind us right here in the wheelbarrow. And the reason I put it in here is because we are going to backfill the hole once it's planted with not just the native soil, but we're also gonna add some amendments. So you wanna add some type of compost, some type of really good, well-drained soil into it. My rule of thumb is about 70%, 75% of the native soil, and then 30 to 25% of other amendments. Now, some people will go like 50-50 or even more heavy on the amendments. The reason I don't like to do that is because eventually the tree and the roots is gonna have to move out into the soil and the native dirt that's all around the tree. So if you just dig a big hole and then fill it up with nothing but amendments, the tree is gonna think that it's still just sitting in a big pot. The soil and the compost is gonna break down over time, the tree is gonna sink over time, and it's not gonna be happy. So I like to put as much native soil back in the hole that I can get away with, because that is where it's going to live the rest of its life as it spreads its roots out. So what I do is I have my native soil and I simply throw in this compost and then I mix it in the wheelbarrow. Okay, so once I get it in the wheelbarrow, I do the hard manual labor of mixing it all in. This is the way I do it. A lot of people will just mix it in the hole itself and kind of make layers, which I don't think that's wrong. I just like this way a little bit better because I feel like it more fully mixes it, which to me, I like, but you can do it whatever way you want. Okay, and one other amendment that I always like to add is sand. Just normal patio, playground sand. Why do I do this? Because it helps with the drainage. I don't do a lot, but in places where I'm planting directly in clay like this, where I haven't planted things in the past, I like to add some sand, get some good drainage. And then same thing, mix it up. All right, so it's all mixed, and guys, it is hot. Some of you may be wondering why I'm planting these trees in the middle of the summer when it's extremely hot. A lot of people say wait till fall. Here's the thing. I love to garden, I love to plant trees, and also things like Medjool Date trees that can take full sun. They actually love the full sun, they love the heat. If I can get it in the ground now when it's happy, in the middle of the summer, then by the time winter rolls around, it's gonna already be a little bit established. Instead of waiting until fall or winter, then it just kind of sits there for the next few months, and then spring comes and it gets going. But if I can have it established, that way by next spring, when it warms up, it's already established, and then it can just explode and have awesome growth. So it's not a bad thing to plant in the middle of summer. The trees actually like it. It's just us people that have a hard time with it. As you can tell, I'm sweaty, I'm a little out of breath. But let's come over here now. Okay, so I've dug the hole deeper than what this pot actually is. And so what I need to do now is I need to start filling the hole back up with all the soil that we just mixed with all the additives and amendments. One thing, you need to make sure that you're packing down the soil really well, because the soil is going to settle. Another thing, you always need to plant the tree about 2 inches higher, 2 to 3 inches higher than you think, because of the settling. You always want to plant a tree higher rather than lower. Low trees, or trees that are planted low, will suffer because they can't breathe, they'll suffocate. So if you're gonna have to err on the side of planting your tree too deep or too high, go too high. Trees that are planted too deep will almost always die. Trees that are planted a little bit too high will probably be okay. So I'm gonna start filling this back up until I get it to the right height. Then we're gonna get this bad boy out of the pot and throw it in the hole. Now, if you're not sure if it's high enough or not yet, you just got to throw the pot in here and see. Kind of give you a good idea. All right, I need just a little bit more. Oh, this thing's heavy, guys. Now again, you need to make sure that you pack it down because you're gonna have settling. You don't want the tree to sink too low into the hole. All right, so something that I like to do with these pots, because when you plant a tree, you do not want to disturb the roots. It's one of the #1 things that hurts trees when you initially plant them, especially when it's really hot in the middle of the summer. You don't want to disturb the roots. So what I do, and it ruins the pot, but I don't care, these pots are cheap anyways, is I will cut out the bottom, then I put it into the hole, and then I'll cut the rest of the pot all the way up here. And that way we minimize messing with the roots the best that we can. So I'm gonna cut the bottom of this pot out. I just use a knife. Now you can see the bottom is off. So now I'm not gonna have to shake the tree a lot to get it out of the pot. I'm just cutting it right out, which makes it a lot easier. So now I can just drag it right in. And I can get it positioned. You wanna step back, make sure you're getting it positioned exactly how you like it. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm gonna come here and I'm just gonna cut up the pot.
onto that wall.
Okay, and now it simply comes off. Throw it over here, and now you can see it's still perfect. I haven't messed with the roots, which is the whole point of doing it that way. Maybe better ways, more than one way to skin a cat. That's how I like to do it. So now that it's in here, by the way, this is my helper, Oliver. Say hi, Ollie. Now that it's in here, I have it set exactly how I want. I can start filling with all the dirt that I've amended here in the wheelbarrow. And if you see, it's planted a couple inches higher than ground level. That's because the ground's gonna settle, and that's because I don't wanna plant it too high. So I aired a little bit higher. I'm planting it too high. That's okay. It's better than planting it too low. And again, you're getting in here, you're patting it down. And guys, if you're watching this and you're seeing me sweating and struggling, can you at least subscribe to my channel? Look at this hard work I'm doing for you. Can you subscribe? Thank you. Okay, so we have it packed in there. Now what we need to do, I'm sweating guys, it's hot. Now what I need to do is I'm going to build a berm around it using the native soil, the clay-like soil that I pulled out. We're gonna build a berm around it so that we can properly water it. So I'm gonna do that right now. All right guys, so now that I'm thoroughly sweaty and nasty, I have the berm I use the native soil. Don't use compost or mulch or anything to make the berm. You wanna use the native soil because it's very clay-like and it can stick together. Once I water it, it'll get a little wet and I'll smush it down even more. But now what we wanna do is, inside of this well, is where we wanna add some more amendments. So I have my compost that I used here in the hole, but I also have worm castings. Guys, if you're in Arizona, go to Arizona Worm Farm. They have the best worm castings and compost by far. But if you're like me and you couldn't get out there, worm castings from anywhere will suffice. And this compost that I'm using is from A&P Nursery. I really like it. I think it's a really good compost, good mulch. So all I'm going to do is now I'm going to fill up the berm here. Again, not going too high and not going on the trunk, but we're gonna fill it out here with these amendments. Worm castings, compost. All right guys, so now I have my compost and my worm castings in here. Now we're gonna water it. And when we water it, it's gonna settle, it's gonna sink a little bit, but that's okay because I planted it extra high because of that specific reason. Now, when we talk about watering, I've made videos where I talk about you wanna water very infrequently, but you wanna water deep and slow. Okay, that's not the case with a brand new tree. Why is that not the case with the brand new tree? These brand new trees do not have their roots established. They don't have the roots spread out. So if you water deep, slow, all over the place, it's pointless. You're not watering the tree because these roots have not spread out. So instead, for the next few weeks, you want to water a lot. You want to water frequently, but you don't want to water a lot. You just want to water enough to get the root ball wet. Keep the root ball constantly moist for the next few weeks. Then with time, the roots will start to spread out, and then you can go watering less frequently and deeper and let those roots start to establish itself and move out. But for now, you need to water a lot to keep that root ball nice and wet. So let's go get the hose and let's water. All right, so here we go. We're gonna water this bad boy down. And like I said, for the next few days, for the next few weeks, I'm gonna water just like this multiple times a day. Got to keep that root ball moist, guys. You can't let it dry out. You got to give it time to start spreading its roots. And the reason I dug this berm is so that it will hold the water here and close by the root ball so it won't spread out and go where the roots aren't. All right, guys, that's how I do it. There's many ways that people do it, but this is how I do it. This is how I found the success planting over 100 trees in my yard. Again, remember, you need good drainage. You need to put the tree in the right spot. And then for the next few weeks, you need to make sure that you keep it watered, keep that root ball moist so it doesn't die out, especially if you're planting in the middle of the summer. Guys, thank you for watching. If you think this little boy is cute, please subscribe, please like the video. Otherwise, I won't be able to feed him. I need to feed him, so I need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Please, if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. I'd be happy to make them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.